We're going to be talking about custom fields in Salesforce, what they do and don't do, and how to use them. To add fields, you go to the setup, you go into the object where you want to create the custom fields such as leads. Go into the fields, and then down at the bottom you have the area for custom fields. And when you go and click New, you have all these different options of fields here. And so I'm just going to go down the list and talk about them and how you can use them and what they're for. So on auto number, if you're setting up a field where you're wanting to track and keep track of the number of records that are generated, and this is how you can use an auto number field. And so when you go on to the next on that, it'll again ask you for the field label and how you want to display it. And there's a couple different ways that you can go about displaying it. You can do combinations of the day, month, and year along with a sequence. So if you want a record that has just the day in it and then every new item for that day, so if this was leads that we're in, if we want to record every new lead that comes in per day, we can give it the day, month, year, and then have a sequential number going after that. And as you can see, there's these examples here. You need to tell it where to start the numbering. Usually it's going to be number 1, but sometimes if you're bringing over from another system and you have a unique numbering sequence there, that's where you might tell it what number to start on so it can pick up where you left off. On the next one, on the formulas, it's going to ask you, okay, what is going to be the result of the formula? Is it going to be a checkbox, a currency, a date, time, number, percent, or text? I think those are mostly self-explanatory, but I'll try to go through them as we go. So if you go and you create a checkbox and go to the next, you're going to create a formula that's going to lead to either true or false. And so as the result of the formula, if it's true, the box will be checked. If it's false, the box will be unchecked. So that's the idea of the true and false, or the checkbox, sorry. On currency, the fields that you're dealing with are going to be dollar fields or currency fields as a result of whatever it is that you're calculating. So you might be, for example, right now I have a client where we are taking their costs, and we have those in their, we've added that to their price book entry, which you can do now. That's a recent option that you can do now in Salesforce. You can put costs and additional revenue lines in the price book entry. We've done that, and then we're multiplying that out by the quantity, and we're multiplying in discounts. And so in those cases, those are all currency fields that we're going to be using as a result of what we're calculating in the formula. In all the formulas, you have this formula field here where you can either do a simple formula where you are taking your field type and getting a field and inserting it in. I never use this one. I always go to the advanced formula tab. There's one. So we can insert the revenue, and then let's say we want to multiply it by, well, it won't make sense, but if we would pick the other field that we wanted, say the company field was a number field, and then we could insert that into there, and then the result of that, if there are two numbers, would be what we want. We can go and there's this check syntax button down at the bottom, and you can click on that to see if it'll work. It'll be green if it's good to go. If it's not going to work, it'll give you a red, and it'll tell you the error what it is. It's saying, okay, you're trying to multiply, it's expecting a number or a currency back, and what you're getting is text, because I'm multiplying this text field here. And so if that was a number field, it would have worked. It would say, okay, yes, this is everything that we expected. You're good to go. But this is good because then I know that that it won't work. It also wouldn't let me go to the next stage either with this. So that's how you build your formulas there. Again, similar to Excel. You can have the result be a date, and so if you're trying to find a difference between dates, like the number of days that your accounts receivable has been outstanding, or the number of days that a lead has been in there, but there's been no change to any of the notes or anything on there, you can calculate the number of days on that. Same thing with the date and time. If you're going to be getting the result and being a date and time, you can calculate down to the seconds of time in between two events there, and you can capture that. The number is straightforward. If you're going to be calculating any kind of number, that's what you want to use. Percent is just that. The thing about percent is that you don't need to enter in a, well, this is a percent field for later on, but so let me get back to that. So the result would be a percentage. It'll format it as a percent. And then if it's text, it'll just format it as text. So let me go back here. That's on the formula. The next item here, the next type of field that you can create is a, well, I guess there's a roll-up summary. Roll-up summary is grayed out right now because roll-up summaries you can only create on a master in a master detail relationship. Leads isn't master to anything, and so if I went over to accounts and created a new field, here you do have the roll-up summary option available because the account is a master to contacts. It's a master to opportunities as well. A roll-up summary is a field that you can use to roll up information from the child object. So right now, in that previous example I was talking about, there is the client where they have a number of different products and a number of different revenues that are associated with one product. And so what we have to do is roll up the total revenue from the opportunity line item and the opportunity product to the total opportunity. And we use a roll-up summary in order to do that. So that way we're able to get the summary totals on the opportunity, which is the master to the opportunity line item. And we're able to roll that up and get sums that way. You can also get a minimum or maximum value as well. A lookup relationship, that is similar to you can establish two different kinds of relationships between objects, a master detail and a lookup. The lookup, you can link two objects together. Unlike a master detail, the child or the objects are not dependent on each other. And you don't have those kind of restrictions that you do with a master detail, but you also cannot get a roll-up summary between them either. And so if you're wanting to just establish a relationship between two objects, you'd use that lookup. So this is the account being related to the lead, and we're going to go through and set this up so you can see, and it's going to ask you who you want to, what kind of field level security you want for this field. You can make it available to everyone or no one. So now when we go into the account, and let's go find an account. So now when we come down, it's not there. We'll have to see if we have to show it. And it's still not there. Not sure why, but what should happen is once you have the relationship established, you'll be able to show that related list down here at the bottom, which is very helpful when you have objects that are related to each other. And again, I'm not sure why that's not showing up, but it should normally. Let's see. So I'm going to go back to accounts, fields, and create a new field. Actually, I want to go back and I want to delete that field that I just created, that lookup. Okay, and so now back to the list of custom fields. So we talked about roll-up summary lookup. Checkbox. This is, again, a true or false field. It's going to be, if it's checked, it's going to be true. If it's false, it's unchecked. Fairly straightforward. Currency field. So if you're going to go and create a currency field, it's, again, you just go and name it. You want in all of the numbers and currency fields, it's going to ask you the length ahead of the decimal point and the length behind the decimal point. The sum of those two cannot be more than 18. And so I can put 12 and 6, and that will work. And a lot of these you can decide if you want it to be a required field, who you want it to be visible to, and what profiles for this field. And then you can go through and save it, which I'm not going to do. Okay, date field is that just what it is. It's a date field only, or you can also have a date and time field. Those will display. Email is an email field. This is the reason why you want to use this instead of such as a text field. It will try to verify that everything that's entered in there is in the right format. And so it'll recognize it as an email format. So it'll have an @ sign in there. There won't be any spaces in between any of the words. And it'll have a .com or .net or something else in it. If it doesn't have that, it won't accept it. You'll come across this problem if you're trying to load data into Salesforce and from another system, and if there's some bad emails in there, such as spaces in there, or it doesn't have a .com, it will throw those out and say that those can't be loaded in. But it helps with your data integrity to have email fields if that's what you want, then you're also able to have better, cleaner data with it. On the geolocation, I haven't used this. As you can see, it's in beta, but the idea behind it, and this is an emerging part of Salesforce, people are starting to use this more, is you're going to go through and you're able to log a geolocation or be able to have a field to record that, and then you can create your app to interact with that. But again, latitude, longitude, display notation, degrees, minutes, and seconds, which is the norm, or you can put it into decimal. And again, make it available to different profiles. Number is just like a currency, except it's going to display as a number and not have a currency symbol next to it. Percent. The fields that are made percent, the people entering in data into it do not need to put like a 0.1 for 10% or a 10 and then the percent sign. They just enter in 10 for 10%. So the percentage fields are entered in assuming that the number you're entering in, you don't have to show the decimal place. So if it's 100%, you just enter in 100. If it's 90%, just 90. And so that's the formatting help on that. Phone, kind of like email. There's some benefits of using the phone field. If you have any systems or apps that are dialers, or where your telephony is integrated with Salesforce, they use these fields, and it'll recognize this as a phone and a phone number. Whereas you could go and put a phone number into a text field, but that will not recognize it. Those systems will not recognize those as a phone number. And so if you are going to use any kind of a phone number, we recommend using this. The catch is that sometimes, particularly if you're bringing data over from another system, somebody might have in that other field, that phone field, it might have the phone number and then a few spaces, then a EXT for extension, so it'll have the text EXT in there and then like a 456 for their extension number. Salesforce doesn't recognize text in a phone field, and it will kick that out and not let you load that in. And so it is a little bit more picky, but that does is it enables you to be able to use it with a dialing system. Next one, the pick list. So this is a drop-down. So you can have various different options, like maybe if this were the industry that you were trying to work with, maybe there's 3 different industries: healthcare, government, and manufacturing. And you wanted to force your users to pick one of those so that you can have better data integrity. What other systems might do, or what you can even do with Salesforce, is you can just try and go with text on everything. The challenge with text is if you're trying to group things together on the text, and if it was an industry field, some people might put, for manufacturing, they might put manufacturing written all out, or they might put MFG or period, or just MFG, no period. And then the challenge is if you're ever trying to group your data, you have a really tough time doing that. You're going to have to do some conversion. Pick lists are really good because it forces the user to choose from your list. And the pick list versus the multi-select pick list you can only choose one. Multi-select pick list, you could choose as many as you want. And so those come in handy. I like to avoid multi-select pick lists because they don't work very well with formulas. you have more restrictions on them. You have restrictions with pick lists as well on formulas, but it's not as much of a problem. You have more restrictions as you're trying to do things in a formula with a multi-select pick list. It becomes a little bit more challenging. You can work through it, but it's just often takes a little bit more thinking through how to do it, and unless you're really familiar with formulas in Salesforce, it might take you a while to develop it to work correctly. Text. Text is any and everything. There's no restrictions on what can go in there. You have several different types of text fields here. The text, if you go in and do the text, it's going to ask you, okay, how many characters do you want to do? And I think this will limit you onto 255 or 256. So if I put 270 in here. Yep, so it caps you out at 255 on this field. And this, in the text, along with numbers, I didn't go into that, you can have these as an external ID fields. So if this is something that is, particularly if you're bringing information from another system over, and it's a unique identifier, maybe it's the ID number for that record, this is a good thing to signify so that you can use it in some of your data matching and inserting later on. You can use that external ID. You can tell it if it's going to be unique, whether to treat capitals and lowercase as the same, or treat them as different. And let me go back. So that's on the text. The text area is it's going to automatically do the same thing, but it's going to be up to 255 characters. But you don't have those other options here of the external fields, and if you want to make it a unique field or unique information, you don't have those options here. But if you just need something to be a text field and you know it's 255 characters is going to cover it, that's the way to go. Text area long it'll go up to 131,072 characters on separate lines, and so you can put really large bits of text in there, but again, it's just strictly text. Then you can get into text area rich, and so that will allow you to put images, links, different formatting in there, and again, it's a lot of information there. That's a good field. We've used that sometimes in on leads where somebody's doing some research on a potential company, and if they want to copy and paste information off their website or that they've done off of another related website that talks about that company and it has some graphs or charts or pictures, it's a great place to store that, or a great way to store that. The text encrypted, you can go through, and there's certain scenarios where you often want to mask the characters, both from your users as well as people that might be querying the system, and it'll keep it encrypted. And so it's asking, okay, what ways do you want to mask the characters? Do you want to mask all of them? Do you want to mask the last 4 characters? So like on Social Security, or sometimes on a credit card, you'll see the last 4 digits are left open, so that way you'll see, okay, we charged this credit card, and it'll just show the last 4 digits. So that way it's keeping it confidential, but to the user or the customer, they're going to recognize what credit card that is or what Social Security number that is. So credit card has that built into it. National insurance number, Social Security number, social insurance number. So those are the different options on that, and you can mask it with either X's or an asterisk. And so here on a credit card number with an asterisk, it's giving you an example of what that's going to show like. Or all characters is just going to be that. Social Security is going to leave the last 4. So, and the last one, URL. So it's going to show as a hyperlink in the field, so you can put that in, and then it'll allow people when they click on it to open up that URL in another field. That's how this field works.